Hello there, Swahili Nation family. There's a lot that happened in Africa and we're going to talk about them. This is Recap. I am Wangel Zalalam. U.S. calls for a strong African response to Russian aggression. The United States is hoping for a strong African response to Russian aggression and plans to help mitigate the economic effects of the Ukraine conflict on the continent. U.S. diplomats have said, quote, "We look for a strong African response to Russian aggression and welcome the opportunity to partner with Senegal and other Africans on both the response to Russia's aggression but also to address the implications of it globally," U.S. Ambassador to the African Union, Jessica Lapin, told journalists in Dakar. Yeah, it's a no. They are trying to bully us, and this is one of their tactics. They're telling Africans they should support Ukraine and they should be opposed to Russia. Africans, like any other person from any other continent, have every right to choose who they want to support, who they want to be with, who they want to deal with. So for them to come out and say you need to have a strong response on Russia really bothers me. It's like they're talking to a child. They are literally talking to a whole continent of over 1.3 billion population. So how dare they tell us who to support and who not to support? And as you all know, most African countries took the neutral route, which I can respect, because at the end of the day, that's not our war. And if we want to be neutral, we have every right to be neutral, but they're not happy about it. They want us to hate Russia and support Ukraine. And I don't think that's fair to ask a whole continent. They're addressing us as a whole. So yeah, this really bothered me because they're using a bullying technique. I'm pretty sure behind the scenes they're even telling the governments and the leaders, yo, if you don't do this, we're gonna take action, we're gonna put sanctions, we're gonna, take notes for the future. Whenever you want something from us, we will say no. So this tactic is old, and I don't think it's gonna work anymore, because most African countries, as you all know, they were neutral. They've even voted that way. So I don't think this tactic is gonna work for the US going forward. African refugees fleeing Ukraine held in EU immigration detention facilities. More than 4 million people have now fled Ukraine for neighboring countries amid the Russian invasion. However, black and brown students who have fled have been detained by EU border authorities in what has been condemned as clear discriminatory and not acceptable. Although all neighboring EU countries pledged to accept refugees from Ukraine, as people fled across borders, a complicated story emerged of who is perceived and received as good, bad, and ideal refugees in modern Europe. This is really sad. We were busy talking about this just a week ago and saying how sad it is the way they were discriminated against, the Africans that are fleeing Ukraine. And now it's even getting worse, because after fleeing Ukraine and escaping war, now they are met with more racial discrimination. They are getting arrested. Well, they're getting detained, but in other words, it is like they're being thrown in jail, because they're taking away their phones, they are locking them in a room. What can we call that? They are detaining African students because they're African, and this is illegal, because EU in March announced that they will accept everyone that is fleeing from Ukraine, Ukrainians as well as other documented legal citizens that are in Ukraine. So why are they being detained? Why are their phones being taken? And one brother, actually a Nigerian brother that was detained, he talked about how it happened. He said he crossed the border, and then these people started talking to him, and he didn't understand what they're telling him, because they're not speaking in English, and that's what he usually communicates with. So he's like, I don't understand. So they took him to court, made him sign something he did not understand. They didn't even bother to bring a translator, and just took away his phone and threw him in that room and detained him. How is this fair? How is this happening in 2022? And the mainstream media cannot be bothered in doing a report on this, because this is a big deal. All they're busy doing is making us think that Ukrainians need our help. Yes, war is bad and we do not support war, but It doesn't mean that you ignore Africans when they're being racially discriminated against, when they are being detained. This is a story, I would think, this is a story worth talking about, because they need solutions. They need us right now. So we are going to talk about it. But what a disgraceful way of handling refugees, and the way they're treating Ukrainians versus the Africans really should show us Africans that we only have each other, and whatever you do, try to make it in your own continent. Stop leaving for these countries where they mistreat us and they don't even see us as human beings. Hundreds repatriated from Saudi Arabia after a painful ordeal. Hundreds of Ethiopians arrived back in Addis Ababa on Wednesday, the first contingent of some 100,000 nationals to be repatriated from Saudi Arabia over the coming months. Around 900 returnees, including many mothers with young children, landed at Addis Ababa International Airport throughout the day, the International Organization for Migration said. We're so happy that our brothers and sisters got home okay, even though it's just 900 of them and there are so many waiting for their turn. To be specific, there are about 750,000 Ethiopians living just in Saudi Arabia. And part of the agreement between the Ethiopian government and the Saudi Arabia government is to bring back at least 100,000 Ethiopians that have been facing a lot. It's really sad. I recommend you do some research and see what kind of treatment that they have been receiving, and how they were treated, and how they were detained in the same room. I believe there were like 400 of them. Each room consists of 400 Ethiopians, and they will give them like rice and a loaf of bread, and they tell them share, and that's it. Imagine 400 people sharing a loaf of bread and rice. And also they don't even have a toilet, and they are forced to go to the restroom in front of each other. They were beaten, they were discriminated against, and it was horrible that they had to go through, left their country, and this is the kind of treatment, they face. The only reason why they leave their country is because they want a better life for themselves and their family members, and they don't see it in their own country. And it's sad that our people feel this way, and there's so much unemployment, and there's so many things going on that our people would rather risk their lives than to live in their own country. It's really sad, but hopefully these witnesses that came back home can educate the next generation and tell them that it's not better to be treated that way. You can work in your own country. Yes, it might take time. Yes, it's going to be slow, and yes, not everyone is going to get the opportunity that they deserve, but I believe that if we try harder, even in our country, we can make it. Russian President Vladimir Putin says, quote, "If I was president the time NATO invaded Libya, Muammar Gaddafi would still be alive." Allegedly, that's what President Putin said, and frankly, I believe that he can say that, and I believe he would have tried his best to save Gaddafi because of the way he publicly denounced what NATO did to Gaddafi when they went to Libya and killed him. So he clearly publicly said that he did not support how they went about it. He even made a point, a good point, and he said, if you're not happy with the way he's handling things, why not take him to court? Why not hold him accountable the right way? Why do you need to go into that man's country and kill him and destroy their infrastructure? It is not right what NATO did, and that is what he said, and there's actual footage of him saying that. So it's not hard for me to believe that he would have at least fought hard, but what he was saying is he was not president at that time, so that was why he was not able to meddle in or have a voice. But now that he's a president, I guess he can talk about what he was not able to do then. Burkina Faso's former president Compaoré has been sentenced to life imprisonment for complicity in the 1987 murder of his predecessor Thomas Sankara. The former president was charged before a military tribunal alongside Kafando, his former head of security, who was also sentenced to life imprisonment. This is a good start. I'm glad they were sentenced, but we all know they're not the only ones that did this. We all know there's a power behind what they did to Thomas Sankara. I'm glad that someone is paying for it, but I also want the puppeteer to pay for what they have done alongside the puppet. At the end of the day, Thomas Sankara died because he wanted to improve his country, because he did not say yes to the colonizers. He wanted change for his country, and he was such a young man and someone that could have done so much for Burkina Faso, but it was cut short because of greed, because they didn't want someone in power that will not allow them to do whatever they please. So they chose the puppet that they want. They worked with him to remove Thomas Sankara from power. So I do believe this is a good start, but I don't think this is the end. One migrant was killed amid insecurity protests in north of Johannesburg. A man was killed by protesters denouncing the inaction of the authorities in the face of violence and crime in Johannesburg Township, the South African police announced Thursday. According to the public channel SABC and another media, the victim is a Zimbabwean immigrant. The murder comes amid growing popular anger over high crime rates, sometimes directed at immigrants accused of fueling them. I find this depressing in so many levels. There are so many things wrong with this story. First of all, condolences to the family members that lost the Zimbabwean immigrant, and to others that are losing their lives because of what is going on in South Africa. I understand, or at least I try to understand, both sides. You know, there are two sides. When we're talking about the current situation in South Africa, it's not new. It has been there for a while. The attitude towards immigrants and how they're not happy with them taking their jobs. And you can empathize with that. Like, I get it. I get how you might find it unfair that you are working hard and, you know, you want the next opportunity, but that is given to another person, especially a person that is coming from another country. Even though we're all Africans, you know, there are 54 countries. So I get it. I get why some South Africans feel the way they're feeling. But I also get that, you know, from the immigrants' perspective, why they're traveling to South Africa is they're trying to find a better opportunity. And for them to get killed over it makes me sad, because I want to eventually see Africa come together, all of us, and killing each other will not solve anything. It's only going to divide us, and that is only going to hurt us. And the thing about South Africa is most of the wealth is with the white South Africans, the ones they call settlers. So my thing is, like, why don't we have a conversation about how they can distribute the wealth that they have taken from the locals? You know, like when you look at the immigrants, yes, they're the ones that they'll see on the ground, but the wealth is not run by those immigrants that are just selling bread or peanuts and trying to provide for their family on a daily basis. So, like, as I said, I empathize with both sides, the immigrants as well as the South Africans that are trying to get employment. Like, it's clear to me that both parties have a valid point, but I do not think violence or killing someone over it is the answer. So I guess what I want to say is that I don't think violence is the solution. I think the solution is us coming together and demand what is rightfully ours. Anyway, Swahili Nation family, thank you for watching. Let us know down below what your thoughts are about these topics that we've discussed. We want to hear from you. Let's have a discussion. Let's have an open dialogue, and let's come up with solutions for us by us. I'm Wongel Zalalam. I'll see you on the next one.